Hello, in today's video I'm going to tell you about a super scary experience with eczema that I had in the last couple of weeks, and that's why I took a little break from filming videos, because it was such a horrific outbreak that I simply couldn't face being in front of the camera. So I took 2 weeks to find the culprit, to heal my skin, and so here I am to share my story with you in today's video. And I want to make this video for two reasons. One, to share with others who might be going through something similar and hopefully let them feel less alone and help them in this way. And two, because I want to show you how easy it is to blame the wrong culprit for your skin issues, and also to stress the importance of always trying one thing at a time, because it is so easy to blame the wrong culprit if you're trying a few things at the same time. And trust me, when I was trying to clear my skin a few years ago, I made this mistake so many times. So I never really had a full-on eczema or much experience with eczema at all, to be honest. I did have tiny patches like on my eyelid or some on my face, like tiny patches a few years ago when my skin still wasn't healthy. But in the last few years, I had no problems of that sort at all. So when around 3 weeks ago, I suddenly had a full-on outbreak of eczema all over my face and upper body, I honestly didn't know what to think. I was absolutely terrified. So a few weeks ago, my skin started getting slightly more irritated with each passing day. And then on the day before Easter, it went absolutely crazy. It was irritated, burning, red, flaking, kind of itchy, raised bumps, and it was all over my face, my neck, my chest, shoulders, back, and all over my arms. I couldn't stop itching. I felt like a dog with fleas, literally. And to illustrate what it felt like, it was like as if I had spent a whole day on the beach with no sun protection, and my skin was severely burnt. But the thing is, I wasn't in the sun at all, and my skin wasn't burnt. It was just burning by itself out of the blue. It burned and hurt like crazy, and I looked like a beetroot. Honestly, I just closed myself off from the world, and I didn't want to face anybody. I didn't really want to go out into the city. I only took walks with the dog where nobody could see me here in the countryside. And then a few days later, my skin started peeling off. So this whole dead, damaged skin had to come off somehow. So my face was covered with bigger flakes, smaller flakes, this powder-like flakes, and it looked even worse. So here I'm going to insert a couple of pictures of what my skin looked like around a week after the outbreak started. So as you can see, by this point, the redness was pretty much gone. There were still a few places, but not really much at all. But the flakes were just horrific. Every night and every morning when I washed my face, it felt like rinsing sandpaper. And it was still so itchy, probably even more itchy by that point, because you know when you have really dry skin to the point where it's peeling, it's actually really incredibly itchy. So I just couldn't help myself, and I was waking up in the morning with bloody scabs all over my body or my face because I'd been itching during sleep. It was just insane. So obviously the main thought on my mind was, what the hell caused this horrible outbreak of eczema out of the blue? And the first culprit that I looked into was the active form of vitamin B6 called PLP or P5P that I talked about in a recent video about Mortonstow. So before this outbreak, I was trying out this vitamin for around a couple of months, and it was perfectly fine until all hell broke loose with my skin. So naturally, that's the first thing I blamed. But no matter how much I researched all over the internet, I couldn't find anybody mention any skin reaction like mine anywhere. So that just didn't make sense. And then I also joined a Facebook group for B6 toxicity, and I asked there whether anybody experienced similar symptoms to me, and again, nobody did. So that's when I started thinking, it just doesn't make sense that vitamin B6 could cause these kind of issues, because it's supposed to do the opposite. It's supposed to get rid of dry skin, it's supposed to heal the skin. So it just didn't make sense. So then I started thinking, you know, what else could be behind all of this? And that's when I realized that I was basically barking up the wrong tree, because PLP wasn't the culprit in this case. Even before I started PLP, I was already experiencing an outbreak of hay fever for the first time in 10 months. And I had no clue why it was. And it was very likely that this allergic reaction on my skin was related to that hay fever, to some kind of an allergic reaction. So because it started before I started experimenting with PLP, it didn't make sense to blame it. So I started looking for another culprit. And that's when it dawned on me. What I was experiencing was an allergic eczema. Basically my skin's reaction to some kind of an allergen, whether contact or food allergen. But my face hadn't really had any contact with any new ingredients, any new things. So I knew it had to be something to do with food. And it took me a few more days of brain racking until it finally came to me. It's mint. So I had exposure to mint for most of my life, but in very small quantities and not really very consistently. So in the past I used to take liquid chlorophyll, but not really for a long time, for maybe a month at a time, and that was it, nothing else. But in the last few months I had started consuming a lot of products containing mint every single day, and I think my body just reached breaking point. It was just too much for it. It couldn't deal with it anymore. The thing is, all my life I'd been kind of averse to the taste of mint. I wasn't a fan, but lately I'd kind of made myself like it. And again, it's another lesson for me. Never ever ever go against your body and against your instincts, no matter what the scientists or the doctors say is healthy, because whatever is healthy for somebody else might be a poison for you. So always pay the most attention to your own body. So when I started suspecting that mint was behind all of these troubles, I made myself a cup of peppermint tea, just peppermint, nothing else. And I couldn't stop coughing and sneezing and blowing my nose, and my eyes were watering, and it went on for a couple of hours. And I realized that I'm definitely onto something, because my body obviously reacts to mint in a strange way. So I knew I had to make some more experiments, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So the reason why my body totally freaked out due to mint is because I started doing a few things at the same time. So first I started taking liquid chlorophyll again, and it contains mint. It's the one from Now Foods. You can also get chlorophyll without mint, but the particular one I was taking had peppermint oil in it. And I always found the taste absolutely repulsive. But somehow with time I got used to it, and I didn't mind it too much anymore, but I should have just listened to my body's screams. And at the same time I also started buying peppermint tea, and I also had another tea, like a relaxing tea with a few different herbs, including peppermint, and I had those on a daily basis, sometimes even a few times a day. So basically I was exposed to mint pretty much all day long. Also, as always, I had some peppermint in my toothpaste, some peppermint and menthol. And then another thing that completely blew my mind, I had no idea, was the fact that Vitex, the herb I'd been taking for a few months, is also from the mint family. So potentially could also be causing allergy issues to me. And if you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I have a bit of a love and hate relationship with Vitex, because in some ways it helped me so much. It finally gave me normal periods without too much bleeding, but at the same time it also gave me sort of weird sniffles and weird allergy issues. So I kind of started and stopped it, because my body just can't take it for a long time without issues. And the thing is that just before all of my allergy issues started this spring, I switched from Nature's Way supplement to a Gaia one, and that's much more potent, a much more potent extract of Vitex. And that's when I seriously noticed so much more weird symptoms from it. So it was obviously too much exposure, and my body just freaked out. Also, when I was blaming PLP supplement for my skin issues, it didn't make sense for another reason. I stopped it, and 10 days later my skin was still just as dry and just as irritated as on day one, if not more. So I realized that there's something else that keeps irritating my skin, because if it had been a B6 vitamin or any other supplement, it would have got better by that point, but it didn't. So the next step I knew I had to take was doing a controlled experiment on myself. So I got rid of all the mint products from my life for a few days except Vitex, which I couldn't stop abruptly, but I did reduce from 2 capsules to 1. And I still kept my toothpaste with mint, which is the only one I had, but I got rid of all the teas, I got rid of the liquid chlorophyll with mint, and that already made a huge difference. Those 4 days were so much better for me because my skin completely calmed down. I had pretty much no hay fever anymore. It probably got better by maybe 90% by the end of those 4 days. So I could see clearly that mint was very heavily involved in my hay fever symptoms and the skin issues. And by the end of those 4 days, my skin was almost perfectly back to normal. On the 5th day, I took some liquid chlorophyll, like the usual dose, and I kept watching myself. At the beginning, I had a little bit of a tightness in my throat, which I used to get from time to time, but I never had an idea why. And now I'm starting to think that it's because of the allergy. And I had a bit of a headache, very mild headache, but nothing else. And I was kind of disappointed because I thought maybe my theory was wrong after all, my body isn't reacting in any way. And, you know, I just let it go. And then 6 hours later, at 10 p.m., I started sneezing like crazy. Sneezing, my nose was running, my eyes started itching and getting really watery. I started coughing again, basically a full-on hay fever out of the blue. So it was like a delayed reaction, which can happen with certain allergens. And also because 10 p.m., just before going to bed, is the time when cortisol nosedives and it becomes really low. And cortisol is the body's natural antihistamine. So until the levels get lower, the allergy symptoms won't be as apparent. So I think that's why they really came out at 10 p.m. 6 hours later. So I suffered through the whole night. It wasn't fun at all. And then the next day, with no more mint exposure, I started getting better again. And then the next day after that, my skin was flaking more again. It felt more irritated. So I could definitely see like a delayed reaction in my skin as well. But a couple of days after the experiment, my hay fever was gone again, my skin was fine. So I'm pretty sure that it's the mint and all the mint family that has been causing issues to my body. My camera just died, so because I'm very determined to finish this video today, I switched to a different one. I hope that it doesn't sound or look too bad. So, the mint family includes also most of the Italian herbs like thyme, rosemary, sage, basil, including holy basil or tulsi, which also explains a lot because I love that taste. I love the way it makes my body feel. But if I have it for a few days in a row, I'll start having hay fever symptoms, and that explains everything. And it definitely explains why, since I started dating my husband around 13 years ago, is when my health really started going downhill. And I think it's because I became exposed to all these herbs from the mint family, because they're all a huge part of the Italian cuisine. And until I met my husband, I didn't really eat anything Italian apart from occasional pizzas. So that definitely gave me so much food for thought. And when I go to Lithuania in a couple of months, in June, I'm going to get tested for allergy to basil, mint, and also mugwort and ragweed, which are the 2 most common allergens, pollen allergens here in Tenerife. And they didn't get tested last time I did my allergy blood test. I got tested for 150 different allergens in the air and in the food. And I was really disappointed because I had really high IgE levels, which basically means that my body is fighting some kind of an allergy. But the blood test showed nothing. I had 0 allergy to anything apart from a very mild allergy to dust mites. But it wasn't enough to cause all these issues that I was experiencing. So I was really disappointed. I was expecting to get a lot of answers from it, but I got 0. And now I know that it's because they didn't test any of the herbs at all. No mint, basil, anything like that. And they didn't test ragweed or mugwort either, which is so strange. So that's what I'm going to get tested this time. And I'll let you know for sure what comes out of it. So that is pretty much my story. Exactly 2 weeks after the onset of this eczema, it was completely gone. My skin is back to normal now, and it's so nice to have soft and normal skin, not so flaky and dry anymore. So I'm super relieved, and I'm very happy to be back to filming videos. So I really hope that this story was interesting for you, and I hope that it made you feel less alone if you're going through something similar. If you experience eczema in your life, let me know what helped you, what caused it for you. If you had any crazy allergic reaction to something like this as well, definitely let me know in the comments as well. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one, which is going to be a healthier and more nutritious carrot cake recipe, and I'm super excited to share it with you. So bye for now. I'll see you soon.